In accordance with Florida statute, you will be watching a video regarding ethical standards for all employees of the District School Board of Pasco County. After viewing the video, you will sign an acknowledgement form that will be collected and sent to the Office for Human Resources and Educator Quality. Throughout the presentation and on the front of your participant packet, various sources have been provided that will answer your questions. Florida statutes and state board rules impact school employees. This overview is being held to provide information regarding these state requirements. Florida statute also requires that all employees participate in this overview. According to Florida statute, anyone convicted of the offenses listed in this statute cannot hold an educator certificate or be employed. There are over 40 offenses listed and include such things as aggravated battery, obscenity, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, voyeurism, and unlawful sexual activity with minors. The offenses listed in this statute have no statute of limitation in regard to certification and employment. A copy of this statute has been provided in your participant packet. Statute now requires instructional personnel to report alleged misconduct by other instructional personnel. Once someone has been charged with misconduct, there can be no confidentiality agreements made between the employer and employee. In addition, employment references cannot be provided without disclosing the misconduct. There will not be any reprisals taken against anyone reporting the misconduct. Pasco County Board policy requires that all employees report the misconduct of any employee. As we discuss Mrs. Smith's behavior, think about at which point you would become uncomfortable with her actions. Ms. Smith became angry with a student. She yelled at the student, saying, "Get to work." Ms. Smith told the student that he was an absolute pain and she didn't know what was wrong with him. She told him to get out of her class and go sit in the hallway. When he refused to do so, she grabbed him by the arm and shoved him out of the room. The student ended up with red marks on his arm and pain in his shoulder. Ethics is a guiding philosophy that describes what is right and wrong and what is considered a moral duty and obligation. It also is a theory of values or principles that govern an individual or group. All school personnel are held to a high moral and ethical standard. Florida courts have repeatedly upheld this belief through a variety of court cases. Florida statutes and state board rules can be assessed in their entirety at the website shown here and in your participant packet. You should have in front of you a brochure called The Code of Ethics and the Principles of Professional Conduct of the Education Profession in Florida. This is the actual state board rule and statute, which reinforce that our primary responsibility as educators is always the student. These are some of the major categories of allegations of ethical misconduct, some of which we will discuss further. Examples of inappropriate comments may include, "If I were 10 years younger, I would like to." "That shirt really shows off your assets." "It is a shame you are not as smart as your sister." "I don't know why you don't get it. The other kids do." "I'll be glad when you are not in my class anymore." "Don't forget, I can get your address." A good classroom management system will help you remain composed and able to deal with student behaviors reasonably. Discipline is just one part of a strong classroom management system. Rapidly expanding technology has made this one of the most prevalent areas of allegations of ethical misconduct. The high ethical standards for educators apply to both professional and personal communications. Your school email account should be used for professional purposes. Your personal email should be used for all other communications. Posting to a public forum, such as Facebook, can have professional implications, even when this is done from a personal computer. Emails with inappropriate content and/or pictures should never be sent or forwarded from school email accounts and can have professional consequences even when sent from home email accounts. Ask yourself, how would I feel if my email ended up on the front page of the newspaper? When dealing with school funds of any kind, it is always a good idea to collect money with someone else and to have your accounts monitored, possibly by your bookkeeper. Alcohol and illicit drugs are never permitted on school campuses, nor should employees come to school with either in their systems. The district has established standards of conduct related to drugs and alcohol consistent with deterring and detecting employee substance abuse. Student medications must be dispensed through the clinic following proper procedures. Even over-the-counter medications, such as cough drops or aspirin, must adhere to these guidelines. It is important to know that if arrested or charged with certain offenses, all employees are required to self-report this information to administrators, immediate supervisors, the Office for Employee Relations, or to the superintendent of schools within 48 hours of the arrest or charge. Specific information regarding this self-reporting requirement can be found in the ethics brochure. Fraudulent information and credentials also include in-service reports and school transcripts. Be certain that all records accurately report or document professional development. Be sure that you know and follow school and district guidelines for field trips. These guidelines will provide information on the required number of chaperones, approval process for chaperones, chaperone responsibilities, and required paperwork for field trips. The important thing to always remember is that adults are responsible for students at all times. As much as we care about our students' happiness and well-being, we must always maintain a professional demeanor. Ethical standards require that our personal lives be kept separate from our professional lives. The bottom line is that we need to always consider how others might perceive our actions because their perceptions are their realities. All educational personnel have a legal obligation to report known or suspected child abuse or neglect. Just as we are obligated to report child abuse, new legislation also requires that public school employees report educator misconduct. For additional information, refer to the brochure entitled Identifying and Reporting Educator Misconduct. When students tell you about a questionable instance, you can handle the situation using the LEADER acronym. Listen carefully to what the student says. Evaluate by deciding if the misconduct makes you feel uncomfortable, if you question the person's motives or actions, or if you are unsure. Act immediately if you decide the behavior of a classroom teacher, instructional assistant, substitute employee, guidance counselor, social worker, career specialist, school psychologist, volunteer, part-time employee, principal, assistant principal, or any other educational professional working closely with students needs to be reported. Document the activities or details of the event. Encourage the student by letting them know that you will protect them and their safety and well-being is your main concern. Report the alleged misconduct to your administrator or to the Office for Employee Relations. School districts, as governing bodies, have legal obligations regarding allegations of ethical misconduct of all employees. Allegations regarding non-instructional personnel, substitute employees, volunteers, and part-time employees are addressed at the district level. Complaints regarding instructional employees and administrators are referred by the school district to the Office of Professional Practices Services at the Florida Department of Education. If probable cause is determined, the case is then referred to the Education Practices Commission for final action. The Education Practices Commission sets formal sanctions. The Florida Department of Education has a link on their website that allows any citizen to search for disciplinary actions against an educator's license. This website also appears in your participant packet. The following scenarios provided by the Department of Education describe situations that require the educator involved to make an ethical decision. Think about the material discussed in this presentation and decide what important factors should guide your decision. You are in charge of collecting monies for a school fundraising activity. What do you need to remember? Remember to keep accurate records of all monies collected, work with someone else to collect money, have records monitored, audited by someone other than those collecting the monies. This should be your bookkeeper. During your planning period, you have finished grading all student work and have entered all grades into the computer. You have some time left and would like to finish up your final online shopping for the holidays. What do you need to remember? Remember, do not use school property or time for personal business. The planning period is to be used for school and student-related activities. You are at a local restaurant with other staff members from your school. The conversation shifts to school topics and student names are beginning to be mentioned. What do you need to remember? Remember, student information is always confidential. You are a representative of the school district at all times, and behavior on your personal time can impact your professional reputation, certification, and employment. Thank you for your participation. Remember that resources are listed in your participant packet, and you can view this presentation or get additional information on the Employee Relations website. Be sure you have signed your acknowledgement form and returned it to your administrator.